An attorney and research fellow at the Thomas A. Rowe Institute for Economic Policy Studies, Allen Mendenhall, as well as prosecutor and host of Today with Dr. Wendy on KCBQ Radio, Dr. Wendy Patrick. Good morning to you both. Let's just dive into this. Dr. Wendy, I'm going to start with you here. So the prosecution must prove today that it has sufficient evidence to proceed to trial. Now, Erica and Charlie's parents, they will be there in person. We really haven't heard much from his parents at all. I mean, the grief must be unimaginable. But how do you see today really unfolding?
Good morning, Alex. So you're absolutely right. Today is finally a day in court where they're moving forward with the burden that the prosecution has at preliminary examination, which is far less, as you just pointed out, than what they're going to need at trial. Remember, this is a case where there's an enormous amount of evidence, but they don't have to present everything at a preliminary hearing, only enough to make sure there is sufficient evidence to proceed to trial. And also to establish, remember, this is a death penalty case. So he's been charged with aggravated murder, which is meaning, you have to have more than simply a homicide. So all that to say, it's going to be a landmark day for a variety of reasons, one of which is the fact that it's a public hearing. Remember, the defense lost their motion to close the proceedings. Yeah. It's going to be live streamed. Everybody's going to have a chance to watch. But it's the first time that in person you're going to have Erica and Charlie's parents actually there in court. So it's going to be a very traumatic hearing in one sense, but also a step towards justice being done for Tyler Robinson.
Yeah, and Alan, I want to build off everything that Dr. Wendy just said. So as she just mentioned, the defense has tried to use almost every trick in the book to keep those cameras out of the courtroom and limit what they're calling any negative exposure for their client. I think people are asking the question, how does having his widow, Erica, and then, of course, his parents in the courtroom affect the case? Will they claim that maybe prejudice a potential jury against their client when this happens?
Well, yeah, I hope it really has no effect because defense attorneys have already unsuccessfully attempted to limit the media and public access. They've attempted to prevent prosecutors from using recorded statements from Robinson's roommate, who was also his homosexual partner, instead of just having live testimony. Yeah. So hopefully this has no effect, because the last thing we want is for the defense to have accusations of bias or irregularity or impropriety or anything like that. But I suspect we've got, plenty of evidence to get through this preliminary hearing and get this case to trial. And as was just mentioned, this is a case seeking the death penalty. So prosecutors will have to clear a couple hurdles. They'll have to prove the murder case, which shows that there was an intent to cause Kirk's death and that Kirk's death actually happened. That I don't think will be a problem. And then prove an aggravating factor, which endangering other people during the killing, shooting over a crowd of university students should be easy, I think, for the prosecution to prove. Unfortunately, this is just it's going to be a long process, and it's going to be a sad process.
Yeah, you're so right about that. And again, this is unfortunately a case that has gripped the nation as well as all over the entire world. So we are going to certainly keep a very close eye on this one. But while I have you both, I do want to pivot to Paul Pelosi, the 86-year-old husband of former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Well, he may be in a little hot water for a hit-and-run accident that took place Friday. So he allegedly ran into a parked car, leaving, quote, major damage. And then he quickly just drove away. The images are out there. You can see him. It does, in my personal opinion, look like some major damage. So obviously he had previously pleaded guilty to a DUI back in 2022. Law enforcement said no alcohol was found in his system around this time. Dr. Wendy, the question is, what should happen to Paul Pelosi? I mean, will he once again kind of skate away unscathed?
He'll lose his license. That is one of the things that cases like this demonstrate. All of us, each of us at some point in our lives, when we're in our 80s, 90s, or whenever it is, have to face that inevitable question. Is it time? Yeah. This is one of those repeat offenders. Now, this wasn't a DUI like he had in 2022 that he pled guilty to, but it's one more indication that maybe it's time for him to turn in his license. That may be not something that's terrible news. I mean, there comes a time when you have to have a driver. And the fact that he told authorities, I thought I hit something, but I wasn't sure, continuing to drive a car with extended damage until it stopped running, those are indications that maybe prosecutors will charge him with misdemeanor hit and run, but more likely the DMV is going to say, hey, Paul, I think it's time for you to hang it up and give over your driver's license, exchange it for a California ID. That may be what ends up happening instead of charging this 86-year-old with a hit and run. But we'll see. The facts seem to be certainly there.
Yeah, and again, like you said, it all comes in time for all of us. I believe he's 86 years old. Again, this is not the first incident. He's been involved in a couple bizarre incidents in just the past handful of years. But Dr. Wendy Patrick, Allen Mendenhall, really appreciate your insight this morning from you both. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.